This has kind of been a heavy morning. My name is Pete Morsch. I'm with Habitat for Humanity out of the St. Croix Valley. Does anybody know where the St. Croix Valley is? Kind of. Just east of the Twin Cities. I'm on the Wisconsin side of the border, but I'm back in my hometown of Moorhead, so it's nice to be back. I have a presentation. Is it on there somewhere? So I came to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing, I guess, to combat global climate change at our little level as a small little nonprofit organization that builds. Does anybody know what Habitat for Humanity does? We build houses for people in need, right? So I've got some pictures of those houses, and Craig's on it. Anyway, Habitat for Humanity partners with people that are making between 25 and 60% of the median income for our areas. And so folks that are working hard but are struggling to make ends meet. And our whole mission is to build simple, decent, little affordable homes and get people up on the right foot, build some equity in their portfolio, and improve their lives, right? And this is a really beautiful system, and it's been going on for a long time. So I just click it that way? Cool. And we've been building for 15 years down in this little town that we're a part of. And something strange happens when you work for Habitat for Humanity, because Habitat builds houses. We're the builder, we're the general contractor, but we're also the banker, right? So when we're done constructing these homes with the help of the families that are going to live in them, we sell these homes to those families. And as we build, we kind of started off like a lot of little Habitat affiliates built. We built simple little stick frame homes, 2x4 walls, 2x6 walls, standard levels of insulation, standard levels of HVAC and plumbing and electrical, and nothing fancy, just a simple little box, right? But something that's better than the typical trailer or the old 19th century giant house that's been carved up into a bunch of little apartments where most of our families are currently living. These energy hogs of buildings. So we're building simple little boxes, right? And you've probably seen Habitat houses. Nothing too fancy. But because we're the banker and because we get those mortgage payments back from our families every month, we notice something very interesting about the methods of construction and how much it's really benefiting the families that we're working with. And what I mean by that is when we build a simple house that's just up to code standard, we start seeing some struggles to pay the utility bills. You know, when you're living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, you've got your priorities, you've got groceries, you've got education, you've got healthcare, you've got the mortgage payment, and you've got utilities. And so we notice this weird correlation that when we start building more efficient houses, when we start reducing the utility bills for our homeowners, then we see much more consistent payments at every month. People have more money in their bank accounts. They're able to spend that on healthcare and education for their kids. So over the course of 15 years, we got better at what we were doing. Still building simple little boxy houses, but insulating them better. And this is an example of something that we did 2 years ago. Built a house that's insulated with styrofoam and recycled plastic walls that are filled with concrete. And what you get is a really, really efficient, very airtight building that's simple to heat and cool. And we went from energy bills for an average family of about $120 a month down to $15 a month to heat and cool these houses. That's a good thing, right? We needed some positivity because I was getting kind of down about the state of climate change right now. And we thought that was really great. And we see immediately almost that we've got payments coming in on time. People are happier. They're living in better conditions. They're benefiting more concretely from their homes. Concretely, that was a pun. Sorry about that. So then we decided to push ourselves a little bit further. And this is before I started, so I can't take credit for any of this stuff. Push ourselves a little bit further. We built more efficiently. We started using radiant floor heating in our houses, dropping our utility bills and our heating bills down even more and more and more. Because the typical trend in American construction is to build bigger. You're paying for the square foot, right? You're not paying for the performance or even the beauty of your house. You're paying for the square footage. You want a big, huge American house. The average American house has grown by 40% in the last 40 years. They're huge. They're ridiculous, right? So Habitat's keeping it simple in that regard, and we're also building more and more sustainably. And we're doing it for the bottom line. I had to put a couple of cute kid pictures into the presentation. We're doing it for these families, and they're seeing real palpable benefits. So knowing what we know, we decided to take it to the next step. We've embarked on this project called the Eco Village. An eco-village is a lot more common term than I guess we thought about when we started, because there's probably 60 of them throughout the globe right now. We thought we were being so clever and unique, but we're one of many eco-villages throughout the globe. But we're the first Habitat affiliate in the nation to build something on this scale. And it's got kind of an audacious goal behind it too. We're building 18 homes on a donated parcel of land in the city of River Falls, and the goal for the project is to create, each one of these homes will be energy self-sufficient. They'll have enough solar thermal, and enough energy efficiency features in each one of these homes to produce all of the power that they're going to consume. So that means we're in Wisconsin. We're not quite as cold as Fargo. We have almost as much snow right now, but we're in a pretty harsh northern climate, and we've got a lot of heating expenditures. Each one of these homes are going to produce all the power that they consume on site. No natural gas, no fuel oil, only electricity generated by the sun, paying for itself right off their own roofs. So here's a couple of okay, pause for another kid pic, sorry. So what we did is incorporated a bunch of cool new building techniques. Has anybody ever worked on a Habitat project? Did you build walls with stick 2x4, 2x6 lumber, stand up the walls, feel really good at the end of the day, and see that all go up really, really fast? We're building again with concrete, with insulation on both sides. The typical American household's walls are about 6 inches, 8 inches thick, have an R value of about 20. You guys know what I mean by R value? An insulation value of about 20. Eco-village homes, the walls are about twice as thick. The insulation value is about 2.5 times as much as a typical American household. And we're building always with the reduction of our energy demand in mind. So we start by the ground up. We wrap our entire foundation in thick insulation. We wrap our basement walls in insulation. Stack up these insulating blocks like Legos. It's a pretty fun time. And we're doing this all with volunteer labor. And on the upstairs floors, we're working with a product called a SIP panel. And what that does is create a continuous layer of insulation throughout the whole house. Again, we're using radiant floor heating. And then what happens, because styrofoam is terrible, right? Everybody knows that styrofoam is terrible. And we recognize that styrofoam is terrible, but we'd rather have it sitting in our walls than rotting away in a landfill, I guess, if you have to choose. So to kind of compromise on the terribleness of all the styrofoam that we're using, we're chopping up everything that we're not using, all the scraps of insulation, through a 1964 Farmall tractor, because this is rural Wisconsin and a lot of people have Farmall tractors hanging around. We chop up all of our high-tech styrofoam product, bag it up, and we use that as insulation in the attic. So please don't give me a hard time about styrofoam. I hear it all the time. We're doing our best. And so this last week marked our first dedication ceremony for the first 4 families that are going to be moving into our homes. The solar panels aren't up yet, and I think I have a picture of it. Yeah, just this last week we got all 24 solar panels up onto the roof of our first eco-village home. And it's seeming to work. we're on the right path. And the hope is to have these homes and these families live comfortably in these homes without a utility bill, without spending money on energy for lights, for appliances, for heating and cooling of these houses. And that makes a big difference in their lives, and it makes a big difference, we hope, in how the entire building industry thinks about what it means to build a valuable home, what it's going to take to build a valuable home in the future. And what we're finding is a lot of resistance to this phenomenon. It's kind of exciting, right? I mean, is anybody excited about this? It's exciting to think that we can be energy independent in our own homes, but the building industry really isn't stoked about doing construction like this. And why is that? We're facing a lot of obstacles in the building industry. Like I said, Habitat is able to do this kind of crazy stuff or cutting edge stuff is because we kind of pay as we go when we're building a home like this. We decide our parameters. We decide that we're going to fundraise like crazy, and that's part of my job too. So if anybody has extra money, we'll take it. But we can pay for these improvements as we go, and it makes sense for us. But for the conventional builder, if you guys are going to go out and construct a home today, you'd have to go and convince the bank that you're going to build a 1,200 square foot, relatively small home for probably 150% of what you'd normally pay for a little house like that. And you're going to have to tell that banker, lend me the money, believe me, it's going to be worth it. And we really are doing this kind of project to prove to the conventional lending industry, to the conventional building industry, that we can do this affordably, that we can do it. It's a pretty good looking house. We can do it beautifully. We can do it that would incorporate, these homes will incorporate themselves into the surrounding community pretty seamlessly and decently affordably. Are we spending more money on these houses? Absolutely, we're spending more money on these houses because solar panels cost money, believe it or not, a lot of money. But we're seeing those becoming more and more affordable every year, and the more we increase demand for those types of products and those technologies, of course, we're making an impact on the overall market as well. But we're also trying to show that when a homeowner doesn't have to worry about a utility bill for the 30-year life of their mortgage, that's a huge, huge economic impact. And what do you think is going to happen to the price of oil and energy in the next 30 years? Do you think we're going to see vast reductions in the cost of energy? Anybody? No. We're seeing that rise by 4.5 to 6 to 10 to 7 to 10% every year, the cost of heating and cooling our homes. So what we're really doing is securing these families against the rising cost of energy, against peak oil, against those energy prices for the life of these homes. And we're hoping that starts to make sense to the conventional building industry, that we're not just valuing square footage, we're not just valuing the number of bedrooms and bathrooms in a house, but we're valuing a house that's independent, a house that's beautiful, a house that's responsibly sized, and one that's going to weather the storms, hopefully, of climate change. So I guess I don't know how to conclude, except for that it's nice to be, there's a lot of doom and gloom that goes along with climate change, and it's going to take obviously a lot more than 18 little houses in a tiny little town in western Wisconsin to change any of that. But hopefully these lessons that we're learning building homes like this can get translated into all of our little communities, and we can start thinking about that in our own homes and in our own communities worldwide. So I guess I'll answer your questions and stick around if you have any. But all done? Okay, good. I'm getting waved out.